Hello, hello! Happy Saturday, happy self-healing Saturday. I'm really excited for today's topic because it's something that, comes up so frequently in all sorts of different life situations. And I was speaking with a few people this week, and it sometimes is so hard, and it's hard for me too, when you've got something that's seems like such a good reason to be worried, such a good excuse to be in a state of fear, be in a state of things are not okay, and I need to acknowledge that things are not okay, and I need to do something to get out of this bad situation I'm in. And sometimes it is so hard to not worry. Like, everybody knows, if you ask them intellectually, does it help to worry? Is it useful to worry? Is it going to fix the situation? Is it going to make the situation better at all whatsoever? And most people, they realize that, like, worrying doesn't get you anywhere. It's like spinning your tires, spinning your wheels, putting out a lot of energy to not make any progress. But I think that the thing is it's such a strong pull for us for several reasons. And so that's what we wanted to talk about today, is like the reasons that we feel so drawn to worry, the reasons that we feel so convinced that worry is the answer. Like, worry, it may not feel very good, but it's something you have to do, almost like, you have to go through this worry because you're in a bad situation, and the worry is almost like your punishment for being in a place that you don't want to be. Continue recording. And so, yeah, we have a lot that we want to say about that.
Oh, it's kind of neat. I guess you can record it, even if it's not going live. Sorry.
Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting development on Facebook.
So for me, one of the things about this that has been really helpful is to understand the mechanism. You know what I'm saying? Understand the biological mechanism. That why is it that my natural state, why is it that all things being equal, I'm predisposed to just worry? You know what I'm saying? When I have a choice between worrying or not worrying, when I recognize intellectually worrying probably isn't the thing to do here, worrying probably isn't actually going to serve me here, why is it that I'm still inclined to do it anyway? And I encounter a lot of people who will say to me, you're all about conscious thinking, you're all about using your mind to do this stuff, but this worry is coming from a part of my brain that's not my prefrontal cortex, and so I can't think my way out of it. And I say, well, part of that is true. It is coming from a part that is other than conscious, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't use the things you can do to influence the things that you may not be able to do something directly about. So I can do all sorts of interesting things with my heart rate and with my experience and with my perception by using consciously something I can control, which is my breath. And I have found that thought works in the same way. Now, one thing about this is as you're learning to use thought to really create deep and substantial changes in your experience of what it's like to be you, to short circuit, say, a irresistible urge to worry about something, you can use thought to do those things. The thing is, you can't just think along the same lines you've always thought up until this point. So you can't, here we are at this level. So we're thinking at this level, and it's like, oh no, what if bad thing X happens? Oh, then this, and this will happen. I'm really worried about that. Okay, well, it doesn't make any sense to worry about that. I can't do anything about it. But that doesn't really provide you with any relief. You have to really be prepared to go up a level in your thinking. You have to think about thought and the nature of thought and observe yourself thinking the things that you are in response to impulses, in response to inclinations that you may have. And then you can think new thoughts that I call them envelope thoughts that kind of envelop. Let's not push back against your inclination. Let's think a thought that encompasses the inclination and encompasses the changes in experience that you want to create. Let's take everything. Let's accept the whole thing so we can work with that whole thing. And so for me, it's like, if I'm worrying about something irrationally, and I know I'm worrying about something irrationally, if I resist that, I'm stuck with it. I'm stuck with, one, the bad feeling that comes with the worry, with the attention to unwanted. This keeps doing this thing. It's really strange. I'm just going to check this. Oh, no, it shouldn't be working, or shouldn't be doing that, should it?
Yeah, just leave it.
Okay. I'm stuck with the bad feeling of the worry, one, if I'm resisting it. The other thing is that I'm stuck with that sensation that I'm doing something fundamentally wrong. I'm stuck with that feeling that, like, oh, I'm effing up, I'm messing up again, isn't this awful, isn't this terrible? However, if I'll just look at the whole thing and observe that whole thing and say, why is it that there's a part of me that's so inclined to worry, even though I conceptually understand that it's not serving me, that it's not getting me anything good, and I might even conceptually understand that it's going to create bad things for me, or it's going to predispose me to outcomes that I don't want, and yet here I am feeling this incredible pull to do it. And the incredible pull oftentimes doesn't manifest as like, oh, I just got a big urge to worry. Oh, I just want to worry. It usually manifests phenomenologically, which is, okay, I'm not going to worry about that anymore. 3 seconds later, I slip back into worrying about it. I go unconscious, and oh, there I am. I'm back on that thought again. Or, I say, I'm not going to think about that, and the part of you that thinks about that says, oh, okay, and then you turn your eye, and then the next thing you know, it's like a toddler, or like our dog gets into stuff, and we say, get out of there, and he does get out of there, and then he goes right back in as soon as we turn away. I think it's recognizing that if you have that tendency to worry about something, especially if it's a health condition, right? If it's a health condition that you're dealing with or someone else, if it's potentially a life-threatening kind of a situation, there is this part, I think, of us that feels that we might get something good as a result of the heightened awareness that comes with being in that worried state. And or we might get something good, and we might miss out or prevent or avoid or move away from something bad as a result of being in that heightened state. And the thing about that is, you have to understand that these mechanisms came to be in an environment where there were basically constantly things trying to kill you. There was a lot more kind of legitimate, imminent physical threats in the environment in which our perceptual apparatus, in which our kind of program that helps us decide, is this a good time to worry or is this not a good time to worry? When that developed, there were a lot more immediate, imminent physical dangers. And that really is what worry is good for. And that's kind of one of the heuristics that I use, is that if you've got time to sort of sit around and say, should I really be worried about this? I don't really want to worry about this, but I can't stop worrying about it. The very fact that you're not immediately translating that worry into action, like fleeing a predator or fleeing an assailant or running from a fire or something like that, tells you that the worry is not the appropriate tool to be using. It tells you that that's not that you can rest assured, right, that the worry is not the best thing to be doing in that situation, and you can understand why. And this is the key thing: you recognize that it's not at an intellectual level. You recognize it's not the thing to be doing, and you understand 100% why it is that you're inclined to do it. At that point, then you can begin to respond to the totality of your situation, because the totality of the situation is you're inclined to worry. That's as true a fact as is the fact that worrying isn't serving you. And if you embrace one of those things, if you embrace or if you understand or if you interface with worry's not serving me, but you kind of reject or resist or don't allow to be true the fact that, and I am very inclined to worry. You have to take that whole thing and say, all right, I'm dealing with a situation where I don't want to worry, where I recognize that worry is probably harmful for me. It may be putting me into more of this kind of a conflict active state. And I know that I'm, in spite of that, there's a part of me that's still really inclined to do it. Understanding that about yourself allows you to sort of interface with the reality about it. Yeah, there's something weird going on with my telephone. Sorry guys, I don't know what it is. It keeps, I think it's recording now so that when we're done it'll post up, but for some reason it's going really in and out, and yours is fine.
Yeah. Yeah, so for me, I'm prone to worrying. I witnessed a lot of worrying growing up, and this is also a very powerful thing to keep in mind when you've got children and you're teaching children about something like worrying. And obviously most parents tell their kids not to worry, or if you're like a religious family, like, oh, you don't need to worry, God takes care of everything, you don't need to worry about this. But if they watch you and they experience you worrying, that's what my childhood was. There's just so much, usually financial worry, sometimes health concern worry, but there was just an undercurrent of like being worried all the time. And so worry for me is like, it's so easy for me to worry. And the thing for me that's kind of, it's difficult because worrying feels like the responsible thing to do. Worrying seems like the right thing to do, especially if you feel like you are in the situation you're in as a result of some form of neglect. You're like, oh, well, I neglected my health for X amount of time, or I neglected my finances, or I neglected something, or I didn't do something I was supposed to do, or I did something wrong. And so here I was blissfully oblivious, but now I've kind of got to pay the piper for that blissful oblivion, and now the responsible thing for me to do is to worry. But the thing is worry is not the opposite of neglect. And so if you were neglecting an area of your life for a while, health or whatever it happened to be, that you feel like was a component of the development of whatever bad situation you're in, worrying, like Steve said, worry has a very specific function. And when you're in that state of worry, worry is a state of fear, worry is a state of moving away from, worry is a state of like look out. And actually certain parts of your brain, certain parts of your reasoning brain shut down when you are in worry mode, because worry, it truly is. It's like fight or flight. It's like, okay, where can I run to? Where can I get to? You never get anything done substantial when you're worrying because it's not a useful state. It's not a useful use of your intelligence, of your mental resources. And so you've got to find a way to come to terms with this urge to worry and realize, especially now that we know the 5 biological laws, because when you know the 5 biological laws, worry and fear and being in that state of things are not okay, it's truly antithetical to healing. You can't get there from there. It's truly, you have got to change your state. You've got to change your emotional physiology, and not just what you're saying, because you can say all day, I'm not worried. You could tell your kids, I'm not worried, I'm not worried, I'm not worried. But if you are feeling worried, if you are emotionally worried, they can feel that. And that's the thing. That's the true message that you're sending to your subconscious mind, is what you're really feeling. And so just remember that you can't trick your subconscious mind. You cannot trick your body with words, just like you can't trick your kids. You can say something, but they feel it. It's what you're feeling. It's that true deep down, am I feeling safe and okay, or am I feeling nervous and worried and not okay? And so that's something to keep in mind. And so thinking about this cycle of how do I get my body to the healing phase? How do I get my body there and stay there long enough so that these tissues can do what they need to do, which is to restore or rebuild or to, tear something down. Your body wants to be in that state, but it can't get there if you're constantly worried. And I like to even think about it like you truly have to shift forms. So if you are ice, like when you think about when you're in conflict active phase, when you're actively worried, whether about the original conflict that led to your original diagnosis or the secondary conflict, the diagnosis itself, the symptoms that are coming along with it, all of the maybe other life situations, when you're in that state of worry, it's like you're ice and you need to become water. You need to melt. You need to literally change your state, change your form in order to get through the healing phase. And so that's where you've got to realize that as soon as you go back into worry mode, you're frozen again. And so that's how we have to think about making this progress and realizing that peace of mind and ease is the way. And it can be difficult because there are so many people telling you to do so many different things. I just made a post earlier today about nutrition. And if you're, even if you're eating the best nutrition, if there was an objectively best nutrition for, for whatever condition that you're healing from, there was the best nutrition ever. If you were worried about it, if you're concerned about it, if you're neurotic about it, if you're thinking that, I don't know if I can do this right, and you can eat that food in a state that doesn't allow healing. And so that's how we know that it's not the things that you're doing, it truly is how are you feeling about whatever it is you're choosing to do. And so that is the really the thing I want to get across today, is that I know you've got the urge to worry. I've got the urge to worry about things too. But remember, when you're worrying about something, you're worrying about something that's old news. If you're worried about a diagnosis, if you're worried about anything that's like actually going on right now, in a real sense, that is old news. That is something right now, when you think about your emotional state, that is creating the future. And so that's where, for a while, you really have to just develop this strong faith and this vision for how you want things to be, and this trust in knowing that it's all going to start with your emotional state, with your feeling state, with your thoughts, with your mind right now in this moment. And so that's, I know it's a big shift, but it's something that's so profound and will help you so much when you're able to get this kind of monster of worry off of your back. And when you are able to make sense out of your biological kind of urge to worry, your psychological kind of habit of worry, versus your physiological existential need to find peace of mind and rest and ease in order to make the shift to get into the state that you actually want to be in.
It helps me to think about these things kind of rationally, to understand what's going on. This is so funny what's going on that way. But to basically, okay, why would we default to worry? Because for a long time, for me, I didn't even consciously think about it this way. But this assumption was there. Why would I be so inclined to worry if there really were nothing to worry about, or if worry really served no function whatsoever for me in this situation. That for a long time was my sort of unspoken, inarticulated, unconscious objection to this idea of releasing this worry from my life. I don't see how this is serving me, but I somehow trust this inclination that I have. And until I can make sense out of why I would be worrying when it doesn't serve me, I can't really get fully on board with this idea of completely letting it go. It feels irresponsible, like you said. And the thing for me to realize was that you know, biologically speaking, we had this our tendency to worry, our tendency to really default in the direction of false positives, which is to say to worry about something that might be there when it's not, versus to not worry about something that could be there when in fact maybe it is. We tend to default to, let's be on the safe side and worry about what's hiding behind that tree. Let's not go that way if we think there's going to be an animal there. And that makes sense for the context in which that tendency developed, which is a context in which there's stuff trying to eat you, there's stuff trying to kill you, there's stuff trying to chase you down, right? And you have to understand that that's the context in which these predispositions that we have to worry about what's not there rather than risk not worrying about what is evolved or developed or came to be. And so now we're living in an environment where even in the most dangerous places in the world, the chances of falling victim to some kind of physical attack or being killed are so low that that tendency to worry no longer really serves us. And okay, so what? Well, when you know that is true, you have an explanation about why you feel this pull to worry about this stuff. And you say, it's possible for me to feel as if it's really right and really just it's imperative that I worry about this. And you know something that your body doesn't know. You know something that your old brain doesn't know. Your old brain knows a lot of things that you don't know. How to grow skin, how to beat your heart, how to maintain all these really wonderful things. But the you that you experience yourself to be also is privy to information that hasn't quite trickled down, right, to the tissue level of the body. And the body is kind of conservative. The body is like, yeah, all this newfangled, safe living and civilization. But we know that there could be someone waiting around any corner, so let's keep this person worried. And so the thing that kept us alive previously, so the sort of the body's attitude is, who cares? Let's stay worried if there's any chance there's a problem, so that we'll be like this, ready to move. But that doesn't really work for us anymore, because there are so many things that look like danger that aren't, and there are so many of those things that we put ourselves in a perpetual state of worry. Now, in the past, it wouldn't matter that costs us something, because literally, like, we would probably be saved from so many actual dangers as a result of being chronically stressed, that even if the stress killed us, it was better than being eaten by a tiger 15 years ago, right? But now, there's not stuff literally out there trying to kill us for most of us, most of our life, and so we're actually dying as a result of keeping ourselves in this extremely expensive, worried, it's very expensive to be ready for war all the time, to have your military mobilized, to have your body in that, like, look out, something's coming state. That's the opposite of the rest and the relaxation and the repair state. And so, for me, making sense out of not worrying, first, I have to accept the fact that you're inclined to worry exactly as much as you are. The other thing about it, for me, was recognizing that, okay, so first of all, worry isn't getting me anything. Worry isn't helping me. Worry isn't assisting me. But there's still that part of us that's like, well, who cares? Let's go ahead and be on the safe side and worry anyway. And so to address that for me, I had to really, really rehearse. I had to really, really practice the understanding. Worry doesn't cost you nothing. Worry costs you something. There's a tremendous opportunity cost to experiencing sensations of worry, to be concerned about that stuff. Like, it's not like, well, we got all this worry here anyway, we might as well use it because maybe we'll head off some problems. There's a tremendous number of things that you're not thinking about, that you're not feeling, that you're not experiencing. There's a lot of things that your body is doing in response to the experience of worry, that is doing instead of a lot of other really wonderful, conducive to health things that it could be doing. Recognizing that opportunity cost to worry is tremendous. It really inspires you to be persistent and to employ really ingenuity and imagination in finding ways to get yourself to resist that urge to worry. Because essentially, for me, what worry is that it is giving so much attention to the future, worrying about the future, while neglecting the present from which the future is flowing. And so you're spreading your psychic energy across this infinite and inactionable future, that you can't do anything about. And okay, so what? What's the problem with that? Maybe you'll anticipate something useful. Well, the problem with that is that you're ignoring everything that's going on right now. To the degree that you're worried about where your health condition is going, you're not maximally engaging with the reality of where you are right here and right now. Whatever the best possible health outcome for you is going to be, it's going to flow from and occur as a result of you engaging fully and in a relaxed and receptive way to the reality of what's going on in your life experience now in this moment. Because your behaviors will be different, yes, but also just because of the fact that the energy that is in your body, the communication that you're sending to your body when you are in a complete, I'm in this moment. My job is to respond resourcefully to this moment. My job is to ignore this inclination to worry about what might happen to my family, if this doesn't work out for me or if things continue to get worse. My job is to not worry about the stress or the strain or the finances or my kids or my husband or my wife or whatever. My job is to respond resourcefully to what is right now. My job is not to evaluate the appropriateness of what is. My job is not to evaluate whether or not I'm wrong to be so sick or whether or not it says something bad about me. My job isn't to do any of those things. My job is to say, is it happening right now? Why, yes, it is. All I have to do, my job is not to prevent things that I cannot foresee. My job is to not prevent things that I cannot prevent. My job is to not make anything right now other than it is. My job is just to give myself permission to relax and respond resourcefully to what is. And the interesting thing about that is that people, one, who recover from so-called sort of unrecoverable diseases, and people who create an experience of peace and equanimity, and they just have this amazing kind of togetherness in the face of extreme health challenges. Those are people who have just allowed, they're not stronger than you, they're not smarter than you, they're not more spiritual than you. They just allowed themselves the luxury. They've extended to themselves permission to really just look at what is and say, okay, given this, what do I want? All right, given this, what do I want? And they do it with the specifics of their health condition, their illnesses they have going on. They're doing it with the psychological things that perhaps are playing a role in that, their relationships with other people, and they recognize that, your job's not to have a different relationship with your kids than the one that you do. It's not to have a different relationship to your husband or to your wife. It's not to feel differently about the fact that you have the relationships that you do. It's not to be more capable of accepting reality than you are right now. It's to accept the level of reality of which, or the level of acceptance that you're now capable of extending to reality. It's to accept if you want to eliminate worry from your life, the first genre, or the first type or category of worry to eliminate is worry about worry. If you could just stop worrying about worrying, you would eliminate probably 80% of the sort of existential angst that exists in your life. We call this meta-resistance, right? People find out that emotionally resisting things is not very good for them. And so, but they have this pattern where they emotionally resist things because it's just their default mode. But they know resistance is bad now, and so they say, "Oh my God, I'm resisting." Say your husband says something unpleasant to you, you emotionally resist that, so you suffer. That suffering kind of triggers you to become aware of the fact, "Oh, I must be emotionally resisting." Then you say, "Oh no, emotional resistance is really bad. That's forbidden." And then you emotionally resist the fact of your emotional resistance, and you compound suffering on top of suffering. And oh, by the way, you haven't really improved your actual relationship situation because you have literally compounded suffering in your own internal experience, which means you're in a bad state, which means that you're making decisions that don't serve you, which means you're behaving in ways that are eliciting from your reality, whatever that reality is, people, situations, circumstances, more of like kind. And it's really just about, it's such relief. It doesn't matter really what your situation is when you recognize my job is only to do what I can, you know what I'm saying, right now, in this moment, for this moment, in response to the reality of what I'm dealing with, inside and out. And that includes responding resourcefully to the fact that you're exactly as capable of responding resourcefully as you are, not more. It's an interesting trick, but this is what we said in the very beginning of this whole thing, this notion of applying conscious and deliberate and resourceful thought to your thought process itself, right? So that if you try to think positively or you try to give your attention to what you want and you find yourself more or less incapable of doing that, well, okay, just give your resourceful thought and attention to the fact that you're doing as good as you can and that you can't do better than that right now. That's the secret really to getting better at everything. It's the secret to getting better at being well. It really is just about like, how much can you accept? How much can you embrace? How daring and audacious can you be in your refusal to worry simply because you know that worry doesn't serve you? And then when you do worry, that's a wonderful opportunity to not worry about the fact that you are inclined to worry exactly as much as you are.
It's amazing too to think about people who didn't even know about like the 5 biological laws, didn't know German New Medicine, but still had a miraculous healing, that they still, they recognized. And I think some people intuitively just have that feeling, that balanced equanimity, where they have a peaceful spirit, where they just kind of know that worrying isn't going to get them through the situation. They don't know what is. And so these people tend to have a lot of faith, faith in God, faith in their own ability, faith in their ability to have a vision, to see themselves well, and to defy all odds. So I feel like that vision that those people possessed is what allows them to get through to that healing that they desire. But this is a really wonderful analogy. I think it's super helpful if you're familiar with law of attraction. It's just such a good thing to think about. For me, it's, you think about this radio dial, and you think about how, you're a vibrational being. You're on like a certain wavelength, and that energy, that way that you feel when you're relaxed and calm and happy and comfortable and joyful versus when you are tense and angry and upset or worried or fearful. Those are different. They're different vibrations. They send out different frequencies to the world around you. They are a different frequency within your body, and you've got to remember that what you want, it's like a radio dial. And so the frequency, the vibration of fear, of worry, of freaking out is different than the radio dial of healing, relaxation. My body knows everything's okay. So when you truly think that you can't get there from there, when you realize that there is a true barrier, there is an inability, you cannot get to the healing that you desire from that worried frequency, from that radio dial that you're on. If you're listening to the country radio music station, you cannot be also listening to the jazz station. It's incompatible. It just is a physical impossibility for you to be listening to both at the same time. It's either you are on this dial or you're on this one. And if you want to heal, you've got to be on the frequency of healing. And we know, because of the 5 biological laws, because of the law of 2 phases, we know that our body is in an adaptive state when we are in a state of fear, when we are dealing with a conflict, when we are really obsessed with whatever this conflict is. And so just remembering how each conflict is playing into your ability to be in that rest and digest heal mode, or be in that conflict active mode. And so your awareness of the 5 biological laws, and knowing and understanding that your body is attuned, it is listening to your thoughts, it is really just trying to serve you in the best way possible, and realizing your body, it's here to help you. But the messages that you're sending, the frequency that you are conveying to these very basic parts of you, again, these are ancient computer programs that are running your body. They only get, it's a binary. Are we safe or are we in danger? Are we safe or are we in danger? If they even get a hint of that in danger mode, they're adapting, and they are not in that healing, rebuilding, repair state. And so when you think about the simplicity of that, and you think about the simplicity of the message that you're sending, and you say, okay, I know that right now it feels so right to worry. It feels so, like the responsible thing to do, but I realize that worry is sending my body a message. And as long as I'm sending the message that we're not safe, my body is utilizing resources to get me out of this situation. And so that's just the interesting thing. And you think about like animals and how much easier it is for animals, because they're not like constantly thinking and rehashing and worrying about things all the time. And so
they're engaged with the present moment. So the animal, like our dog, for example, if I'm on the computer and I'm letting myself get really frustrated about something, which I must admit that I do, I have a certain amount of like computer vicissitudes that I'm prepared to tolerate, and after that I start swearing and all this ridiculous stuff. And I think everyone has their version of that. And my dog will, poor guy, he'll get up and go hide somewhere, because he's like, oh, he's like, I don't know if he's mad at me, but I know that I'm going to make myself scarce. But it literally, as soon as that's over, he's not bothered any longer, because he's responding really just to the reality of the present moment. And it's such a beautiful thing to see. I mean, it's, I always feel bad and have to console him and stuff like that. But at the same time, I'm like, God, what wisdom this dog has, that he's not at all concerned. He doesn't seem to go over to the computer and say, oh gosh, I hope Steve doesn't get angry.
This time, he got angry last time. And
right.
So now he's, he
just lays
that.
there.
Yeah.
And if he hears rumblings, like there's going to to be a problem, then he just gets out of there, and as soon as everything's fine, he comes back out again. And I mean, it's there's so much wisdom in that, and it's like, if you give yourself permission to do that too, you have no idea really how strong you'll be. And no one ever died because they didn't worry enough. No one ever didn't get well because they missed worrying, And here's another thing that I like to do sometimes is that, this is back when worry was like it was just a habit for me, really. I said, okay, I'm willing to do this. I'm not going to spread it out all day long, though, because that's just inefficient, right? I don't want to stop what I'm doing every 15 minutes, every 15 seconds and worry. I'm going to sit down first thing in the morning and I'm going to worry all that I need to worry, right? That's a better way to do it. I like to do it all at once. I like to batch things, So if you've got to worry about your situation a certain amount in the day, make an agreement with yourself to sit down and try to really, really worry. We're gonna get this stuff out, because there's a certain amount. You've got a criteria, right? Everyone's got these like kind of unconscious or other than conscious criteria for how much worrying is enough. Consider the fact that you only worry exactly as much as you do and not more. Why is that? Why don't you worry 1% more than you do? Why is it that you worry about as much as you do and not more than that? It's such an easy thing to take for granted, but it's because there's some part of us that thinks that given our situation and given the prognosis and given what's going on here and there and given just how I'm feeling and given all these different things and given the weather and given all that stuff, about this amount of worry is due. And so my thing is, all right, I'll negotiate with you. I'm willing to do that amount of worrying, but I'm going to do it all at once. We're going to get out of the way because I'm tired of being interrupted every 5 minutes. Imagine if, someone called you every 2 or 3 minutes to tell you a fact that they could have just told you all in one phone call. Make that part communicated all to you at once, and just get out of the way. That's an interesting. Now, I don't literally prescribe that as like a way to live life, but it changes sort of the way you relate to the aspect of yourself that's inclined to worry. You're engaging with it. You're accepting the fact that it's there. You're treating it almost like a separate person, which in some respects it is. I mean, the worrying you is very different than the you that's at peace and making smart decisions from a place of good feeling. And if you just let yourself do that, I think it's a really useful thing. The other thing that you said is that worry is sending communication to your body. And the thing for me, I would say, is that worrying is a communication to your body. That is what it feels like to be communicating a certain particular thing. And when you start to realize that, my job really is to feel what I want to be communicating to my body. And it's such a strange thing, isn't it? The body's responding to feelings that we're having because we're concerned about what our body is doing. And so you get into this kind of loop here. And it's like a relationship. I really like the you that you experience yourself to be, the me that I experience myself to be in my body is a relationship in the same way that, Melissa and I are in a relationship. And if I'm being cool and distant and kind of, curt with you because you're being cool and distant and kind of curt with me, and then you're being cool and distant and kind of curt with me because I'm being cool and distant kind of curt from you, either things are going to keep going the same way they've been going, or someone's going to have to make the first move. And sometimes it's you. Sometimes it's you that has to feel good, in spite of the fact that if you say, based on my health right now, what am I going to do? Well, feel bad, feel worried, feel concerned. And it's totally not reasonable for us to ask you to do this. This is a totally unreasonable request or proposition, and I want to acknowledge that, right? But the thing is, every happy and successful person that I know has become that way because they have not done things that would have been totally reasonable given their unique personal history. And I think that giving yourself permission to not take cues about how you're going to feel now from what's going on right now in your life, but rather to use as criteria for how you're going to think and feel and behave right now, what you wish to be true, what you want to be true, what you're wanting to create, giving yourself permission to do that, giving yourself permission to not worry when worry is the most reasonable and justifiable and understandable thing in the world. There's a feeling inside, right? I don't know how you feel having someone say that to you, but when you kind of ponder that for yourself, you take that and you combine your own kind of mental juices with it, and you kind of, that's the thing, you kind of have to let the stuff marinate, you know what I mean? And you have to add in your own thoughts about it. When you come back to it, though, there's this sensation of like, oh, I can do this. Oh, I get to do this. They're not telling me I have to stop worrying. They're giving me permission to not worry, simply because my criteria for worrying are fulfilled. I can look and I can say, could I worry about this? Yes. And then I can make a deliberate choice not to worry about it, simply because that's just my choice. And it's going to take practice to be able to make that choice. And it's going to take practice to be able to really consciously, effectively, elegantly execute that choice. And I think what I'm going to do is let that be okay too. And actually, that will be a meta application of not worrying. I'm not going to worry that I'm not better at not worrying than I am. I'm going to let that be okay. And that's one of those things, is that you go as far in your process as you need to go in order to get a handle on that process. If you can't let it be okay, that your health is what it is right now, can you let it be okay that you can't let it be okay? And if you can't let it be okay that you can't let it be okay, can you let it be okay that you can't let it be okay that you can't let it be okay? Literally go as far back as you need to, just because you'll get to a certain point where you're not conditioned to resist. I mean, who the hell thinks about worrying about the fact that they worry about the fact that they worry about the fact that they worry? No one usually gets that far, because they get to about the third level and they're so freaked out that that'll do. That's enough worrying for today. But if you take it back farther than that, and you can acknowledge your ability to accept that, you start feeling good. You get a little dopamine release in your brain. Your brain says, oh, we did this. Okay, now we have a personal experiential reference point for not resisting, for not worrying. I wonder what else we can not resist and we can not worry about. And it starts to become something really fun. You have to make it so that the disease, or so that the illness, so that the health condition, so that the thing that's got your attention right now and is the main focus of your creative process right now is no longer the main focus of your creative process right now. If you really want whatever that thing is to change, because if it's the way you don't want it to be, and you're taking all of your cues for how to think and feel and behave from a reality that you don't like, everything about the way you think and feel and behave, whether you intend for it to or not, is going to tend to reinforce that reality that you don't want. And giving yourself permission to go up a level. Let's get out of content. Let's get out of cancer. Let's get out of this. Let's get out of that. Let's get out of the other thing. Let's go up to how we're relating to our situation. And allow yourself the benefit, allow yourself the personal power of relating to whatever this really serious condition or situation or whatever it is. Give yourself the benefit and the ability to relate to that in a way that you would relate to something that you would generally regard as much less serious, which is to say in terms of resourcefulness. When you start, you don't have to force yourself to do that. If you get pushed back, you've pushed too far. What you want to do is you just want to kind of like, just put it out there. Just kind of put it on the radar. Just kind of, put it on your mental radar that, oh, I could be experiencing this totally differently. Oh, I could be feeling totally different about this than I am right now. If you're willing to ponder that possibility often enough, for long enough, your mind will become more receptive to it. And when it becomes more receptive to it, you can feel a softening. You can feel a kind of experiential, a kind of psychic softening. And you can push a little bit further. You're an expert at getting what you want from other people. You know what I'm saying? You know when to let up and you know when to lean in lobbying other people. Apply that ingenuity, apply those persuasive tactics with yourself consistently. Push into that part that wants to worry and say, okay, well, we can worry, but let's worry all at one time. Or we can worry, but we're not going to worry about worrying. And if it goes for that, then you say, okay, good. Then you lean in a little bit more and say, all right, can we worry 10% less? Can we feel 10% better? Can we feel some way? Now, this is another thing too. If you catch yourself feeling good and you feel almost embarrassed or ashamed or guilty or irresponsible or something like that, or if you can't have fun with your friends and with your family without feeling like you should have preserved it or appreciated it more, because who knows how many more of those you have, you're not letting yourself have fun and feel good. You got to let yourself have fun and feel good, and not turn that into something to worry about or to feel bad about or something like that. You have to, give yourself permission to really just live it up. Do you know what I mean? And to not worry about having not made the most of this, that, or the other thing, or not making the most of things in the future. It's about just cutting the cord of that worry and letting it just unravel. And I mean, it'll just keep. I cut the cord of worry a long time ago, and it's still unraveling in my life, But it's just about playing with it, I think.
Yeah, and it's like, how easy can you make it? And that's really like my work with people. When I sit down and we kind of talk through whatever it is that it's how easy can we allow this to be? Because we are so used to things being hard. We're so used to being told that this is going to be hard, that you're going to have to do this, that it's going to, it's not going to be easy to do whatever this is. And so many of us have that in our mind, that it's going to be a fight, because that's how we talk about disease. That's how we talk about cancer, is that we've got to fight it, we've got to kill it. And like, to be told that we've got to see how easy we can let this be, how much can we relax into this with that knowledge. And so I wanted to talk about a process, that awareness of this process is huge for all of healing, because this is something that will happen. And for people that do not know the 5 biological laws, that do not know the course of disease, or of a biological special program, not a disease, but what's going on in your body is you're in conflict active state. For the most part, in conflict active state, your symptoms are limited. your symptoms are limited, that because your body is utilizing resources to do something, to do an activity, to build a tumor, to erode tissue, to break down bone. It's doing something that is supposedly, advantageous for you in that stressed out state. And then as soon as you resolve the conflict, so let's say you let yourself relax. You're like, okay, you know what, I'm taking this girls' weekend, or I'm going to this healing retreat, and I am going to let my body relax. And you do it, and you let your body relax, but if you're not aware of what's coming next, because as soon as you've chilled out, as soon as you've relaxed about something, let's say you had this kind of healing catharsis, you had, some kind of prayer session, you read something, you just had a moment where you let the conflict go. If in your mind you're not prepared for the healing that's to come, you may start experiencing, oh my goodness, now I've got inflammation, now I've got pain, now I've got this, all these things going on. And if you get scared by the healing process, then what happens is you become conflict active again. And so when you're conflict active again, your healing symptoms, they reverse. They go back to conflict active mode. And so that's why it's actually it can fool you to think that I'm getting better when you're actually in conflict activity, because you're asymptomatic for the most part. If it's been going on for a very long time, that's when people start losing a lot of weight and you get really weak, because you've been basically, it's been expensive to use all your resources to be at war, to be building up whatever it's building up for the conflict active mode. And so that awareness of, I know that when I fully release this, there's going to be symptoms. And being mentally, emotionally prepared for that, being prepared for this, period of extended rebuilding. It's going to be reconstruction time. So that means pain, that means inflammation. That means, depending on your particular health situation.
Please pardon us. What was that? Like a website,
Yeah.
some like stores where what does it say? Pardon our mess. Like
pardon our mess. Yeah, we're building
to make your
something.
experience better.
Yeah, and so remembering that there will be a measure of repair that has to take place, but allowing that to be a good sign to you, instead of being, oh no, what's wrong now? Because that's what happens to a lot of people, is they're like, oh no, what's wrong now? And then they probably get diagnosed with a completely different condition than they potentially had before, because medicine doesn't recognize the hot cold phase. They don't know the two phases of disease. They see one disease, they diagnose that disease, and then they see healing symptoms and they diagnose that as a disease. And so your awareness, your ability to recognize, I know that this is going to happen, but I'm going to choose to see that as a good thing. And that is where meaning assignment comes in, because we give meaning to symptoms. We think that when something's swollen, we think we have an infection now. We think that there's a bug or germ on us now. We think that now we've got to kill it or treat it or do something. But because of the 5 biological laws, we know, this means my body is healing. This means I just get to relax and chill, and I get to see how much more I can relax and chill during this time.
You know what's so interesting about that? I was just thinking about how, imagine cave people, right, who really are not that different from us in terms of their biological programs that they're running in terms of genes. And what's so interesting about that to me is that, in a sense, we really just know too much. We know too much about our body. We have contact with the internet who knows too much about our body, and we know people who are doctors who know way too much about our body, and we know just enough kind of to get ourselves in trouble. We are, in terms of our understanding of the body, we are like the kind of like the stereotypical old person who knows just enough to get on the computer to make it so it doesn't work anymore. You know what I mean? The non-tech person. And I was just thinking about how, think about someone in the Paleolithic hunter-gatherer time period. They experience a conflict shock. And what that means basically is that they see something that scares them, basically, right? Something shocking happens, and there's a possible enemy, there's a possible threat, there's a possible danger in the external world. Their body then starts doing the whole GNM thing, starts doing the whole conflict shock business, running the biological special program. That person's out of it, they're laid up in their cave, whatever, hopefully they're being taken care of by their other cave people or whatever. But they're not, in a sense, they're much closer to like our dog, for example, who doesn't worry when he doesn't feel good. He just doesn't feel good and he just lays around. They don't know, this could be this thing called cancer. They don't know, this might be some kind of an infection. And there's a sense in which, finding out about microbes was a big mistake. You're not supposed to know about that stuff. Right? It's supposed to just let it do its business.
Genes. These things are so small.
and the thing is, it's not that knowing about it's bad. It's that you got to be very careful about what you do with things that you know that biologically you're not supposed to know. Do you know what I'm saying? And so what happens now, though, is that we know so much about, or we think that we know so much about illness and the way that it works. We then give ourselves that second conflict shock. So the first battleground, the first threat was outside. But we have become so dissociated from our bodies by learning so much about our bodies. In learning about your body, there's this implied distinction between you and your body. I mean, you are you and you have a body. That's not what it was like for people before they knew anything about bodies. They were their bodies, they were their mind, they were everything, right? And so there wasn't that dissociation, that what they call like Descartes' error, right? Mm-hmm. That whole idea that there's like the mind and the body and there's a separation between the two. But now we are so dissociated from our bodies that it's possible for us to perceive threats, right, psychologically, in terms of triggering biological or conflict shocks. We can perceive our body as an environment in which there is a threat, called a cancer, called a microbe, and psychologically that was not something that would have ever happened back then, because the threats were out here. The body was taken for granted. The body was you, and so the threats were outside the body. Now the threats are outside the body. Perceive the boss, the almost had a car crash, the whatever, and then you have symptoms, and you start saying, oh my God, what's wrong with this body? Let me go to the doctor, and he's going to tell me about what's wrong with the body. Oh, he told me that there's something scary and dangerous in my lung or in my ovary or whatever, and that's going to get me. And so now the psyche is like, oh shit, there's something in this part of my body, there's something here that's trying, and that is a whole different level of conflict shock, I think, because this you've got an enemy within. Do you know what I mean? Where it's not a lion or a tiger, it's a lion or a tiger inside your body that you can't get at, you can't run away from, because everywhere you go, it goes too. And imagine what the body. Now, see, you have to understand that the psyche, the perceptual system, developed in a context in which it was totally unforeseeable that the psyche would have the ability to see what's going on inside the body. That was never happening. We were seeing outside. Our perceptual acuity, our ability to detect dangers, our ability to worry about what might happen was totally externally directed for bears and tigers and crocodiles and etc., other people. Now, though, that incredible perceptual acuity is being turned inward as a result of technology, and we now are communicating threats to our body based on fear and fright that we're having about information we have about what's going on inside our body that we were never meant to have, or that evolutionary progression could have never foreseen us having. That's a very weird kind of situation. Mm-hmm. That's a very weird thing to be involved in. And I think that the thing is, it's not that it's bad, it's just that it requires a level of sort of conscious wielding of this powerful perceptual and cognitive instrument called our brain, where it helps a lot to know, whoa, I feel really freaked out about what I'm being told is going on inside my body, but I have to understand, and there's a sense in which I was never meant to know about what's going on inside my body at the level that I know about it right now. And I better be careful with all of this knowledge. I have to be very deliberate in the way that I allow this knowledge to influence my state. And I have to really watch how I'm feeling in response to this stuff. And I have to consider, am I really freaked out because of what actually is going on inside my body right now? Or am I freaked out because I know way too much about something? From a biological or evolutionary perspective, I know way too much about something that I shouldn't know anything about going on inside my body. And I think that's just a powerful tool to be able to say, I mean, if I start paying attention too much to stuff that's going on inside my body, I'm probably going to start freaking out. It's above my pay grade. You know what I mean? And so I think it's one of those things like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to just give yourself ways of relating to your experience that allow you to improve what that experience is, rather than getting so freaked out by what the experience is that you make the experience worse. And I think that's a complicating factor.
It is, and that's why, I mean, it makes perfect sense as we've gotten more and more like modernity, as things have, as we've learned so much, and now we've got these, huge, schools and people studying things and making all these drugs and making all this stuff about to change little bits of chemicals inside of your body that, like, that's why people get sicker and sicker, is because we think we know something that we truly, we know so little about what this big complex thing called the human body really is, and we think that we've got a handle on it, and we think that we can fix it, and we think that we can make little changes, but the thing is we're not seeing the big picture. And when you go to a specialist, it's like they know this, and they see things through their microscope. And they say, oh, your blood is telling us this, and your blood sugar is telling us this, and your, this number count is telling us this, and that, this fluid is telling us that. And it's like, oh shit, this is really scary.
And they have to recognize, basically, that there is a consequence to even that oh shit moment, right? That's an oh shit moment that would have never happened in human history before. And the whole thing, I think, is not so much to avoid this information, but it's to anticipate the fact that that information is a unique, that you coming into contact with information about your health status is a unique event in human history. This is a new thing, and you've got to use the part, and see, I love this too about evolution, is this idea that the part of the development that creates the problem, like now we can become aware of a lot of stuff that can freak us out and give us conflict shocks, that part contains the possible solution too, which is, but I can use that same part of my brain that's responsible for medical advances in human civilization overall. I can use that part to build a solution to the problem that the existence of that part gave rise to in the first place. I can use this prefrontal cortex, right, that thinking brain, to create new ways of thinking about and relating to the experience that I'm having as a result of intersecting with information, as a result of this prefrontal cortex development and research into medicine and technology and all this stuff. I can use that same part of the brain to find a new way of thinking about the information that allows me to solve the problem experientially, the experiential problem that came up as a result of it. And I think that's that thing, is just you really have to be creative, and I think that there's just this kind of yin and yang flow to this stuff. For scientific advancement, you've got to be willing to have a sort of super scientific approach to not be confined by the concepts that we come up with. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And to be able to use the things that are available without being constrained by them, without having to, because medicine at this moment in time doesn't have a way of describing or relating or responding to this that allows me to believe that anything's going to work out very well for me. I can't be confined by what medicine doesn't know is possible, or what anyone doesn't know is possible. I can't. I don't even like to be constrained by what I don't know is possible. So I just kind of assume that it is, and that in and of itself kind of gets me moving in the direction of that thing.
Yeah, and so that's where, just that notion of the diagnosis, as we experience it when we have it, we think we have this thing now. But the thing is from that very second that you discovered, that you found out that you have something, you have a diagnosis, your body has been making, do you realize how many changes happen in the cells in your body, each second? It's insane. We can't even comprehend all of the changes, all of the things that are going on at the cellular level inside of our bodies. It truly is absolutely mind-boggling. And so to remember and realize that you have been responding to that information, but your body has been changing all of that time. And so to realize and to not get so fixated on, they said that I have this. The solution is still the same. We've got to overcome the conflict, allow the body to heal. We've got to overcome the conflict, allow the body to heal. And the way we do that is through peace of mind. It's through ease. It's through, and it takes finding a way to convince yourself, finding a way to allow yourself to release this worry. And so if you need help with that, if you're interested in help with that, that's what I do as a coach, to help coach you through. Let's see what's going on. Let's identify the conflict. Let's, have you resolved it? Are you in conflict over diagnosis or something else? And so realizing each of the layers of what it is that's creating this internal experience of what it's like to be you. And the goal of the work is to feel better, is to, how much can we relax? How good can we feel? How can we relate to this information in a new way that feels better? And so that is the beautiful thing about it, is each step is, okay, let's figure out a way to feel good about this. And that's Steve is amazing at that. I'm very good at helping you to find new ways to relate to the things going on in your life. It all has to do with getting conscious control of your thoughts, of your emotions. And we're doing something really special that we have done in the past. We did several of them last year, and every single one is absolutely amazing. It's an awareness challenge. And so it's how to activate your capacity for conscious awareness, to know what's going on in your own mind, because it is difficult. I know that when I started taking conscious control of my thoughts, when I first was presented with the idea that you can control your thoughts and you don't have to respond in the way you've always responded emotionally to things, that was so hard for me to understand. I was like, what are you telling, this thing happened, how do I not feel the way that I'm feeling? And just being presented with the notion that I could control that I had choices and options and different ways that I could choose to perceive a situation so that I could feel better. Trying to get a hold on that in the beginning was very, very difficult. And so Steve's come up with a really amazing process for elevating conscious awareness and getting control of your mind. And so we're doing it's a 5-day challenge, so you'll have daily exercises. We do a video at 8 p.m. starting tomorrow evening, and then there'll be a video every evening to give you the exercises. We'll actually have materials that we'll email to you and images that you'll see it's in a different group, so I'll share the link to that group. But I highly recommend joining it if you want to start to develop this capacity for conscious awareness, to know what's going on, because you'll learn so much about yourself. And that's really, it's the thing I love about, our conscious awareness work that we do with people, and our course that I do in my coaching with GNM. It's all about understanding, because when you understand how you're perceiving, when you have this level of understanding about yourself and about why you're seeing the world in the way that you're seeing it, what makes your perception the way that it is, why do you respond the way that you do? There's a specific reason. And so when you become aware of that, you start to have more options. When you become aware of how your body is interpreting what you're experiencing with your mind, you have this level of understanding for your body. And that's what I want, is for people to understand themselves, understand their body, realize that there are things that you can do consciously with your mind, with your awareness, with your emotions, to make a shift that will be so profound and so transformative. Not only will you be able to heal, to get through the healing phase of whatever it is you're dealing with, but you'll then have the resilience to build this life experience where you live prevention, because you live in a way where you are consciously choosing how to feel. You are deliberately responding to the events of your life instead of reacting. And so that's the thing, is when you're in constant reactive mode and you tend to react in this certain type of way, you're always going to be bouncing from one trauma to another conflict, like everything, you're at war. But when you realize that peace is the way, and that's the way that you're going to live your life in communication with yourself, with your own body, and with other people, life gets really different. It gets really fun, and you start enjoying yourself a lot more and feeling a lot less stress and a lot less worry, and you kind of become more the person that you've always wanted to be, but you just thought that, the world's a tough place. A lot of us have accepted that as like just the way it is that the world is, it's hard to be in this world. And so to realize that you are the deciding factor, you are the operant power, you are the creator of your own reality, the creator of your experience, and you're the one that can change it. It's just so fun. Such amazing things happen. And so that's why, we do what we do, is because we love to help share this experience with as many people as possible, because we found a way that works really, really, really well. So if you are interested in joining that, I will share the link to that group. Please send me a message if you're interested in any kind of assistance from us as coaches, or just questions as friends. And we will see you again very soon. Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. Have a great day.
Bye.
We'll see you later.